Hey, my name's TC Burr. Welcome to Yet, a podcast created to encourage you to get your goal or idea out of your head and into reality. On this podcast, you'll hear stories, encouragements, tips, and ideas to help you write your book, start your business, launch your podcast, or whatever it is you hope to accomplish. Because it's not that you haven't done it, it's just that you haven't done it yet. Hi, welcome to another episode of the Yet podcast. Today on the show, don't quit your day job. Hey, I'm TC Burr and welcome to the Yet podcast. Hey, it's been a while since we've talked. I am so glad to be back in front of the microphone, back with you, back talking again, talking about what it means to pursue goals, to work hard, whether it's your thing is writing or business or whatever it is you want to get after. My thing is that it's not that you haven't done it, it's just that you haven't done it yet. And I'm so glad to be here, encouraging one another once again. Welcome into season number 3. Today on the show, I do want to talk about something that's really important. It's something that I've heard in the past. Maybe you've heard it too. Depending on the context, someone may tell you, hey, don't quit your day job. Now, the first context that comes to mind when I think about that is maybe you're at a karaoke night or you're doing something that's kind of outside the norm, like singing, and you get off the stage and someone wants to, maybe in a lighthearted way, kind of give you a little joke and say, hey, don't quit your day job. Meaning like, hey, this singing career thing is probably not going to take off. So don't give your 2 weeks notice at work just yet. And they're kind of just giving you a hard time and busting your chops a little bit. But that's not the context that I want to share today. Mine is actually a little more practical. So if you're listening to this show, you are probably someone who has a dream or an idea of doing something big, whether it's writing a book, launching a podcast, starting a business. You may have an idea, a dream of making money in the online space, or maybe in a non-traditional path that's not corporate employment. So for me, I've been working at a corporate job basically all of my adult life. I work for a big company now, and I have a good job, a good team, a really good situation that I'm in. But recently, I've started having dreams and ideas of maybe there's other ways that I could make a living. Maybe there's other ways that I could make money. And so over the last couple of years, I started exploring some of these more creative avenues. So I started writing a book. I started this podcast. I've started some other things, and I've got a long list of ideas of other things that I want to try out just to see, hey, is there opportunity for me to go out and build something really cool? And I think there is. In the day and age that we live in now, there is so much opportunity to create, to produce, to build, and especially in the online space with the advent of the internet and things like AI, there's so much opportunity for normal people who have an idea to take that idea and grow it into something amazing. And for many of us, we may end up making a lot of money, making a real living, whether it's, like I said, writing a book or starting a business or whatever it is that you want to do. There is opportunity for you to make money, for you to grow, for you to succeed in those avenues. But I think the temptation for many of us is the moment you get that idea, the moment you have that thought of, hey, I want to be a writer, I want to be a business owner, I want to start my own thing, you immediately go to, well, step one, I've got to quit my job, I've got to walk away from everything that I'm doing, and I've got to invest everything that I have in this right now, and it's all or nothing. This thing is going to succeed or fail, and I'm burning the ships, as it were, right? Here's why I think that's not a great idea. A lot of times people start off, you hear people talk about being starving artists, right? If you set out to write or to start a business, that takes time, that takes money, that takes investment. And it's very, very difficult to do those things if you don't have a steady income. So many people who are going to be listening to this show are people probably like me who are in a corporate setting. You've got a job. Maybe it's for a big company, maybe it's for a small company, but you're working for someone, you're getting a steady income, and maybe it doesn't have the kind of exponential growth opportunity that you're seeking. Maybe it doesn't have the type of compensation that you're looking for. Maybe it doesn't afford you the flexibility, whether that's schedule flexibility, geographic flexibility. It just isn't hitting the mark for you on all cylinders. If that's you, I want you to feel encouraged to go and pursue your thing. Start writing the book, start the podcast, start the business, at least start sketching out the plan and start taking steps toward whatever that thing is. But don't burn the ships just yet. Don't quit your day job just yet. Here's a couple of reasons why I think it's important for us to hang on to those day jobs, and at least until such time as your income and your ability eclipses or gets close to the income that you're making now. So, number one, your day job is going to fund your dream. So think about it. If you're just starting out without any money, without any opportunity, unless you've got a ton of savings built up or you're independently wealthy, most of us are going to have to find a way to pay for all the things that you need. So, for example, if it's a podcast, you're going to need a recording software. You're going to need a microphone. You're going to need a camera. You're going to need, right? You're going to need all of these things in addition to the time and the skill and the planning and all of that goes into it. Some of that stuff is free, but a lot of it comes with a cost. Same thing with writing a book. You've got to pay for editors. You've got to pay for the publishing process. There's a whole lot of things you have to do in order to get that book out into the world. And without a steady income, it's going to be very difficult for you to do those things. So number one, your job, think of your employer as almost like an angel investor for you, right? Like you are working hard at your thing. And in the meantime, you're working this job that maybe you don't love, but you owe it to yourself and to your employer to work hard, to do the best job that you can do, and recognize that even if this isn't what you want to be doing forever, this is affording you the opportunity to pursue your dream during your off hours. So your 9 to 5 is really in a lot of ways funding your 5 to 9. Now, one caveat I want to make here, if you are in a job that is just absolutely miserable and you feel like your boss is taking advantage of you or it's going nowhere, like please feel the freedom to go find a new job. That's not what I'm saying. I'm not saying you need to feel trapped and stay trapped in a job that you hate forever. But what I am saying is don't kind of mail it in and completely go all in on the entrepreneurial side if you're not ready. And a lot of times people will do that. They will start down that path and not be ready. And there's just a ton of pressure that can come with that when you are having to turn everything over as fast as you can in order to get to income, get to revenue so that you can continue to fund that dream. But your employer can do that for you. So work hard at your job, do the best that you can, succeed where you can, and recognize that your job, your day job is funding your dream job. The second reason why I think you should not quit your day job, and this is connected to the first, is that it dramatically decreases the pressure and expands the runway. So again, building anything is going to take some time. There's a myth out there of what people call overnight success. Overnight success is not a thing that generally happens. So what we might see in the microwaved social media world that we live in, we see everyone else's highlight reel. We see the fact that they've made it. We see them at the point when they've already achieved success. They've done the thing. They've hit the mountaintop, right? And that's what we see. And in our mind, it's easy to think, well, wow, that person just got started and look at them. They've done it. They've found that overnight success. That's a myth. It's a lie. And it's everything that you're seeing is being filtered through the highlight reel of social media, right? Overnight success typically looks like years and years of stepping up to the plate, of putting in the work, of doing the investment. And then finally the success happens. The traction starts to take off and things start to happen. So when you start out, if you don't have a regular normal day job to pay for things, then you feel the pressure, because how are you going to put food on the table? How are you going to put gas in the car, right? You've got to start selling those books as soon as possible. You've got to start getting those customers in as quickly as possible. And it just leads to some unnatural, destructive, potentially dangerous behavior. You're going to start making sacrifices. You're going to start cutting corners. You're going to start doing maybe even morally questionable things because you've got all this pressure to produce, to hit the mark, to whether it's self-imposed pressure or pressure that you've got like just literally practical about, again, putting food on the table. When you have a steady income, that pressure is decreased. There is not as much on your shoulders in terms of delivering right now. It gives you time to explore. It gives you time to test and learn. It gives you time to see kind of what are the things that you love, what are the things that you really want to invest in. And again, it just kind of eases some of that burden of having to produce right now. So number one, don't quit your day job because it will fund your dream. Your day job can fund your dream job. Number two, because of that, it decreases the pressure and extends the runway. The number three reason why you should not quit your day job, at least not yet, is because it allows for connection and networking. So there are people, professionals at your work who have valuable things that they can share with you. And by the way, you have valuable things that you can share with them. And you never know where these connections might lead. When you're talking with someone, when you're working side by side with someone else, they get to see your work ethic on display. They get to see your character on display every single day. They get to see your talents and abilities, the things that you're good at, the way that you care for other people. And people remember those things. And so these folks that you're working with may end up being future customers. They may be future coworkers at your company. They may be future employees. That you never know what it might lead to. And so all of these connections that you're making, all of these things that you're doing, they are on purpose, and you can be intentional about investing in those relationships because you never know what that might mean for you in the future. And even if it never means anything for you in the future, you can still be a positive force for good in that workplace, in the lives of those people that you're interacting with every day. So don't quit your day job, because you're going to need those connections and that networking, and you still have value that you can bring to that company, even while you're working on your side thing. Number 4, related to the networking and connection, the fourth reason to not quit your day job is because it keeps your skills and your knowledge sharp. Now, you may think that the job you're working, your 9 to 5, your regular day job, has nothing to do with the thing that you want to accomplish long term. So if you want to be a full-time author, that may have in your mind nothing to do with working at a bank or working at some, technology company or wherever it is that you do. But there are probably opportunities for you to leverage your skill set, get better at the thing you want to eventually do, even within the context of your job. So for example, one of the things, and I'll do an episode on this at some point, but I've been thinking a lot about the Venn diagram of kind of what are you good at, what will people pay you for, and what do you enjoy doing? And for me, one of those things that kind of hits in that category is public speaking. I like speaking. I think I'm okay at it. And I know people get paid to speak publicly. I don't know what that looks like for me. I don't know what that will turn into in the future. But there are opportunities at my work to get in front of leadership, customers, stakeholders, and present and do public speaking. So every time I have an opportunity to do that, I want to take it. That's benefiting me. It's benefiting my company. And it's also sharpening my skills and helping me stay up to date on, any kind of knowledge that I need to do in terms of the mechanics of public speaking, what that looks like. It just helps me to get those at-bats in a way that, again, is low pressure. It's a benefit to my company, to my boss, to my team. And it also sets me up for success potentially in the future. So all of this to say, if you have an idea that you want to venture out on your own, maybe start a company, maybe find a way to make money online so that you're not tied down to the constraints of a traditional 9 to 5. I want you to do that. There is so much opportunity in the world today for people to make money online, to do amazing things, and to break free of the traditional kind of 9 to 5 structure. But don't rush it. It takes time. It takes some learning. It takes some growing, and you have time. That's the other thing I want people to understand. Like, we think that we've got to make these decisions right now. We've got to pivot immediately and do this drastic change. And most of the time, those drastic changes don't usually stick. Think about like New Year's resolutions, for example. Like, I read a stat sometime recently, like something like 80%, 90% of New Year's resolutions fail. Well, why is that? Because we go from one polar extreme and all of a sudden we have this idea that we're going to go to the other. So if we sit around on the couch for 365 days, eating chips and not working out, and then on January 1st, we tell ourselves, I'm going to be in the gym 7 days a week. I'm going to do, I'm going to lose 100 pounds or whatever. Like, you might, but you probably won't, because that's such a big change. So instead of focusing on those big immediate changes, what if you focus on the small habits, the small things that you can do easily on a regular basis that will build toward something? So if you're a writer, the example that I've used is, what if you, instead of saying, hey, I'm going to write and publish a book this year, what if you said, I'm going to start writing 100 words a day just to see what happens? Maybe it's a story, maybe it's just journaling, maybe it's something else, but getting in that habit of writing, building that muscle memory of being a writer. And you never know what that might turn into. It may take longer than you think. It may not look exactly the way you think it's going to look, but building that habit is much more sustainable than saying, hey, it's January 1st, and by August 1st, I'm going to be published author. Like, you can certainly do that again, but it's much more difficult to do it that way. And there's a reason why most of those New Year's resolutions do not work. So that's it for today. I've got some great interviews lined up with authors, entrepreneurs, and others this season on the podcast. I can't wait to bring those to you. I've also got some good solo content headed your way. A couple of resources on your way out the door, a couple of books and people that have helped me in terms of thinking about day jobs and dream jobs and what that looks like. You've heard me mention on this show before, John Acuff. His book, Quitter, was super helpful for me. I'll link to that in the show notes. And one of my podcast guests, Nathan, turned me on to Graham Cochran recently. So I've been listening to Graham's podcast. I got a book that he wrote for Christmas, and really, really helpful. If you're thinking about online business and what that could look like for you, go check out Graham's stuff. He's been super helpful as well. So, hey, that's it for today. I hope that you continue to work hard at your dream. I hope you continue to chase every dream that you have and explore and have fun and keep working. But don't quit your day job, not just yet. Later. Hey, thanks so much for listening to today's episode. If you would do me a huge favor, if you got value out of this podcast, which I'm assuming maybe you did since you're still here, would you scroll down to the bottom of your podcast app and rate and review the show? And maybe share it with someone on social media or with a friend, just in a conversation. It would mean so much to get this message out to more people, and I think it would be amazing if you would share it. So that would be, as a personal favor to me, I'd really love it. Also, if you want to know more about me and what I'm working on, you can visit my website. It's tcburr.com. I hope you'll check it out. You can contact me there. Thanks again, and I really appreciate it. I'll talk to you soon.